Good afternoon.
Hi.
How are everybody? It's Wednesday, and the Work Life Consulting team of Dave and Laura Butler are here to speak with you today on the topic of asking for help. So we'll be right with you in 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, we're in this together.
And our dear friend, Elliot Lewis of elliotlewis.com, the keyboardist for Hall & Oates, and very well established with his own personal career, wrote that clip. And I think I can't think of a better way to talk about 6 ways to ask for help without thinking of we're doing this together. We're in this together.
Yeah.
That's really the message. I think asking for help implies the feeling could be I'm all alone. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to interrupt their day. I don't want to seem needy. All the tapes that we put in our
Right.
head.
Right.
And I thought we could start today. First of all, before we go any further, those of you who don't know us, thank you for joining. And we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting. We provide customized online coaching programs, helping individuals, teams, and leaders, along with the organization, achieve greater fulfillment in their lives. Our services are tailored to fit what you need, uniquely your needs, and include individual coaching, virtual workshops, on-site programs, and keynote content. On-site's coming back a little bit, but not that much. But I thought as we think about asking for help without looking weak, your example, Dave, of what you've learned in terms of asking for help with the fact that you have Parkinson's disease, how has that impacted you?
Well, it's been a real eye opener for me, Laura, and you know this because I've shared it with you. But the tendency my whole life has been to be the one that's we used to call me total man because I could do everything and do more than everything, and I just did it all myself. And then once Parkinson's came along, I realized that I couldn't do that anymore. I think that the best example of it was when I was still trying to travel a bit pre-COVID. This has been 8 years now that I've had the Parkinson's, and I was at the airport, and I couldn't move around very well in those days, and I was in a wheelchair, and at the desk where you get the ticket, I said, I'm going to need wheelchair help to get to the airplane, which was really hard for me to ask for. I mean, I felt very odd. I felt disabled. I felt weak. I felt marginalized. And this kid came over eventually and took a hold of the thing and introduced himself. He was very upbeat, very chipper. I'm glad to meet you. And where are you going? And how long are you going to be there? You're seeing family. I mean, he was just a really, really nice kid. And he ended up pushing my wheelchair through the TSA and all that. That was a little bit easier to get through because they can go to the front of the line. So I do have a handicap pass I use in my car too. So why not take advantage of it while you can? But when I got to the gate and he was about to leave me there in the wheelchair, I reached into my pocket. I wanted to give him a tip, and he refused the tip. He said, "No, no, no. I really enjoy helping people," and it really sort of floored me because I realized that my own problems with asking for help and feeling weak and all that kind of stuff was really in some ways robbing somebody else of the fact that he was doing it because he really liked to help people.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hadn't asked for help, he would have missed a great opportunity to help someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gave me a pause to think about this. And in our Thanksgiving dinner we just had the other day, I'll make it real brief. We went around the table saying what we're thankful for. And I said, I'm thankful for my Parkinson's because what it's taught me and what it's allowed me to access, that I never would have probably seen if I hadn't done it.
Absolutely. Well, that leads right into it doesn't mean failure when you ask for help.
No.
And I think what happens when we look at the prospect of asking for help, it implies we're not good at something or that, we tell ourselves we're not good enough. But we know from research, in particular, we've talked about this before, Amy Edmondson's research on psychological safety, one of the key pieces is fail fast.
Uh-huh.
So step in, realize this is one of my drawbacks, or this is something I'm having trouble with, and call it out early in the game. And when we do that, it certainly takes the onus off of the individual asking for help, and more about making them become, the guides for moving forward.
Yeah.
Another step is be clear about what you want.
What it is you're asking for help with.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, help me. It's kind of, geez, Laura, I know you've been good with organizing things. I could really use your help on this project.
Right. Well, it also becomes the opportunity. We talked previously about the importance of having collaborative leadership.
Mhm.
So collaboration on aspects like this, in terms of asking for help, is ideal in terms of moving forward. So the collaborative style, the I don't know everything approach to how we do something means, in order for me to get there, I've got to ask for some guidance and some help before I can kick it into gear.
Well, I think another side to that is also when you ask somebody for help and they actually come and work with you, it might be a great opportunity for them to learn something too. They don't have to be experts either. They can learn from you and you can learn from them.
And then the third one is focus on what others can do for you. And one of the things we found when we were doing some research with this is, number one, Adam Grant has great research and a great book on givers and takers.
Mhm.
And so he talks about what makes people give, what makes people take. And a lot of it is based on the fact that people are really looking to find what drives them by way of meaning and purpose. Well, we can't get there until we work alongside others. And we found that there was another quote, another thinking around the failure piece was the Lego CEO.
Yeah.
So,
I forget his name, Jorgen von Humperdinck or something. When he was talking, one of the recent yearly meetings, he said that the blame is not the failure; it's failing to help or ask for help. And he went so far as to say the only way you're going to lose your job here is not because you ask for help; it's because you don't offer it.
Exactly. So again, we're live now with Dave and Laura Butler. We provide coaching and team development services for individuals and organizations, customized to what your needs are. So if there's a way that we can help with asking for what you want and
There's that help again. We love helping.
We love helping for sure. But I thought this was really key, this whole idea of blame and failure, and it gets in the way of us asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And what Adam Grant was talking about, something I saw recently, is he focused on Merck. And he said that what they started to do was align more of the motivational aspirations of individuals and teams versus performance, sort of as a measure of how successful they are, because they're more engaged. So what they did is they found a way for the sales team, for example, to find ways that they could see the meaning and the purpose to connect to the patients that were receiving the particular drug or whatever it was, based on the fact that they sold the item. So it was a way to kind of cut that gap down. Number 4 is give others credit for their expertise. I see this a lot with work with women, is we find it very difficult to, reach out and help another woman. And Madeleine Albright once said, there's a place in hell for women who don't help another woman. And it's so key. I mean, it's not only women to women, it's everyone. How do we reach out? But along the journey, hey, Dave, thanks so much for helping me with that project. I'm going to make sure that people realize how much you did. Right. And the other thing that I think this is helpful with is a number 5, reward those who pitch in. So when we've been talking a lot lately of in organizations, the concept of Scrum with management. So let's say in terms of pitch in, that there's a Scrum set up for a particular project. Here's what it is, and not appoint people, but seek volunteers who are interested in being a part of that project, because they may never have the opportunity and they may never do it again. But this way, they are recognized for the fact that they stepped up and stepped in and said, yeah, regardless of whether I'm perfect at it or not, I want to give it a try.
Well, that's the best kind of learning. The best kind of learning is always the hands-on learning. There's only so much you can do with the book learning, so to speak. You memorize all of it, but none of it really sinks in until you get out there and you're actually in the midst of the game,
Right.
on the field.
And the final one is don't stay silent. Stay silent. And I think this happens especially with leaders, where leaders feel like they're expected to know all the answers.
Yeah.
They're expected to lead everybody. And when we go back to something we've been talking about recently as well, is the concept of emotional intelligence. So leaders, 80% of a leader's role should be focused on emotional intelligence, not on in the business. Maybe on the business, but not in the business.
Right.
So leaders can step back and discuss, what the scenario may be.
Well, I think, there's a place for this in the coming organization. I think that it's extremely important that we get together and debrief and talk about the things that worked and didn't work, rather than looking for blame or any way to call anybody out. There's so much learning that could take place right in the midst of what we're doing. But we think, well, if I don't say anything, nobody will notice. They won't know that I screwed that up, or they won't notice that there's a problem here or there. Speak up. Let's have failure of the month club. Wow, what a boneheaded move that was I made. Really celebrate the fact that somebody tried something and it worked or didn't work, or we came out of it with a better way of doing something.
Absolutely. And so it's always rehearsal. And so we were talking about how to kind of close and wrap things up. Why don't people ask
For help.
Yeah.
Well, I think personally that there's an old world paradigm that sticks with us. It's a picture of all of us that are our age. We're in school when we were raising our hand. I know, calling me. There was always a competition to be the smartest one in the room. And like I say, there's all kinds of stories out. The Enron saga, for example, was made into a film that was called The Smartest Guys in the Room. I mean, boy, did they make a mess. So, being the smartest one is not always necessarily the best way to handle it, but we come from that world. You're paid to know the answers. You're paid to be in charge. You're paid to be the one that has all of the answers. Well, really, the world we're living in has changed so rapidly. Now you get paid for being the person who knows where to go get the information. And most of the information tends to be in other people. So asking for help is not giving up. It's not quitting. It's not weak. It's actually being strong enough to realize that we're going to be smarter together than we are on our own.
Right. The perfect way to close this. So it's one of our favorite topics. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on the recording, please leave a comment. And what are some of the things that you find yourself asking for help with?
Mm-hmm.
Ask us. And we'll be happy to help you. The website is on the bottom, worklifeonline.com. And we are here weekly to provide you with insights, have conversations that might be valuable to your work and life.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for helping me button these buttons, because I can't do it.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.